Mr. Thakkar.
Thank you. Good afternoon to everyone. It is an honor to be here before you, and thanks to Indus University and the organizers, including Infinity Foundation, for organizing such wonderful conference. Before I come down to the presentation, I just want to share two interesting issues with you. One, about the earlier speakers. Yes, Dr. Pandya, I 100% agree with you that we don't bother about the scientific heritage, what we have. I am currently fighting for that. I will give you one or two examples. One is that I am excavating a medieval township called Chandravati, very close to Abu Road, with Rajasthan state government. And the Delhi-Bombay freight corridor railway line is coming up. The corridor was destroying the site, and it was finally decided because the project was being controlled from the Prime Minister's office. So once we took up the project, we fought back. We involved bureaucrats in the fighting, involved media, academicians, etc. Finally, the railway had to raise hands. We have won the battle. The site is saved now. This is, I think, one thing we have done. Sir, the second thing, the scientific heritage we are losing very fast is about what Rajiv ji said. Thanks to DPG, bringing a lot of issues of, technologies. What you see, books of history of science and technology outside, the themes were mostly, concentrated on several technologies, or the books were concentrated on several technologies, like zinc is one of them. I had the honor to do a book on zinc. When Handaji wrote about this conference that I should send a paper, abstract, and he had written in the message that, if you have done something new, then that is worthwhile to do a paper here. Since after writing the book, I did not do anything on that area. What I did was I've launched a campaign to save that area. How I'm doing it? I've sent letters to Government of Rajasthan. I've sent letters to Director General, Archaeological Survey of India, and many academicians. I'm encouraging vice chancellors of my state, including the vice chancellor of Tribal University, recently has come up at Udaipur, to write to Government of India to save Jawar. What is Jawar? Let me share that before I come to this topic. Sir, anytime in future, if you happen to be at Udaipur, you should, my humble request, you should go to Jawar, take your kids to Jawar. That is the pride of the country, actually. Why I'm saying this? Because Rajiv ji mentioned about that zinc, which is a volatile metal, in metallurgy, if you are smelting copper and, iron, it is, it is right inside the furnace and in solid form. But if you are, smelting zinc, it gets lost. So what is the use of zinc? Basically, galvanizing metals, for galvanization, or coating basically. It doesn't allow other metals to deteriorate. आपके घर के गैस का चूल्हे के ऊपर भी जो coating होता है, it is basically use that. And zinc, initially in India was used for making medicines, for your healing. Most of your medicines, Dr. Pandya must be knowing much better. He's a doctor. So, वो zinc को यश भी कहते हैं because it heals up. So Yasad is a term used for zinc. But why it is important for us is because India is the first country making pure zinc. Thanks to DPG to bring this topic to me, giving me this idea that you should work on this, because I'm working at Udaipur. Zinc, the place where zinc was produced first time in the world in pure form, it's just 40 kilometers from my working position. What happened, we made zinc for almost for last 1,000 years, and China started it in just 500 years ago. And China, and from the apparatus our people designed, developed, innovated at Jawar was copied in England in 1736. By 1738, it was patented. Despite that, thanks to Hindustan Zinc, Paul Craddock from British Museum London and other people, they started working at Jawar, discovered furnaces, revealed how actually zinc was made. If I have time in another session, or if I'm given time, I've got slides, I can show you slides of zinc. They brought to the light how exactly zinc was made in India. And, then American Society of Metals, they, after that discovery, prepared a, brass plate and gave to Hindustan Zinc. It reads, I'm just reading one line of it. That, American Society of Metals note reads, Jawar is unparalleled discovery of medieval world. It has no ancestor. It has no parallel. It is ancestor to all high temperature pyrotechnologies in the world.
अभी हम लोग अपने टॉपिक पे बात कर रहे हैं, ये वाली बाद में सुनेंगे.
Just two minutes more, maybe I'll come down to that. Therefore, this is actually heritage, scientific heritage of India, and extremely, extremely important. I therefore request that, whenever you are at Udaipur, please visit that place. Let me now come down to this topic. I'm addressing this today because what happened, when Handaji asked me to do something, there was no rain at Udaipur. Then I immediately came to my mind, what happened in the past? Then when I looked how people survived when there was no rain. So therefore I thought, why not to talk about these non-formal means of survival. Actually non-formal I'm saying because whatever I'm showing here is not generally grown, is most of the time grows in wild format and people consume and survive out of famine. Can we go? Now, when I asked this question to me, what happened in the past, how people survived, and you see, immediately, it comes to my mind when droughts came, when there was no rain, what happens? If you look at the paleoclimatic studies carried out in India by many scientists, including Professor D.P. Agrawal, then we realize that, between 26,000 to 13,000 BP, there was, severe dry phase in India. It was windy. I mean, we hardly find sites of Stone Age even in Western India. But then in the historical record also, we find that during the Mauryan phase also there was a dry phase somewhere around 293 BC. Then in the historic phase there were famines. So these records in the literary text we do find. Now, if you look at the list of famine, across the literature, you can find large number of them. And very often, in the text, you can find the act of cannibalism. So once there is no food, then this cannibalism starts. Maybe you have heard, 2 years before, there was a story from Korea, North Korea, where even we are talking in 2014, cannibalism started in North Korea. Why? There was a big news in Times of India. I was surprised. How can this happen? What Professor Agrawal was saying that now we have too many problems. We have, these problems are there due to our lifestyle, urbanism, etc., etc. So do we have solutions? So what are we doing exactly right now? We are mining everything more than our requirement and just for money maybe. So whether it is water or all sorts of natural resources at our disposal, we are mining them, using them more than our requirement. Yeah. Then we see, if you see these, red, I'm sorry if this slide is not clear. Most of the time, these famines have brought cannibalism in many states, many parts of India. So if you look at the tradition in Rajasthan particularly, what happens, in Rajasthan, people say there are 3 different types of famines. One is called Annakal, when there is scarcity of food. Another is called Jalkal, when there is scarcity of drinking water. Another is called Tinkal, when there is scarcity of fodder. So if all these 3 are missing, is called Mahakal. So this is quite popular. When there is a situation like that, this sort of situation happens. Or there is a famine in 1956, Vikram Samvat, or 1900 AD. There was severe famine, some pictures of that phase.
Now, this is one of the horrible situation I could read in one of the books written on famine. It reads, life was life was offered for a loaf, dog's flesh was sold for goat's flesh, and pounded bones of head were mixed with flour and sold. Men began to devour each other, and flesh of a son was preferred to his love. The number of the dying were so large that they caused obstruction on the roads. So this is quite pity situation. In Rajasthan, we have too many different, too many such examples because, it is a very dry area. If there is no rain, then farmers always are in a very bad situation. Western Rajasthan is more severe that way. What happened, in 1812 also there is a severe famine. That was the time when the zinc industry also closed down. Of course, the reasons for zinc and closing down of zinc industry were different, but that time there was surely very bad situation which Todd and others have also recorded. Some other famines also read the years. Now, this, Colonel Todd and Samal Das, they have given graphic description of the prevailing condition of that famine. They write that, husband abandoned the wife and the husband, the parents sold their children. Time increased the evil, it spread far and wide, even the insects died, they had nothing to feed on. Those who produced food ate twice what nature required. The minister of religion forgot their duties, there was no longer distinction of caste, and the Sudra and Brahmins were undistinguishable, all was lost in hunger. Fruit, flower, every vegetable thing, even trees were stripped for their bark. To appease hunger, men ate man. Now, there is a book written during the phase of Maharana Pratap known as Vishwaballabh. This book is very interesting. It reads how underground water was discovered at a number of places. There are a number of tricks, traditional methodologies explained in this book for water. Now, this is one very popular, belief that this particular bird, wherever it lays eggs, the water level reaches to that location. So, it may be a superstition, but I'm just showing it. Why not to test it? Is it correct or not for that region? So, what people ate? People ate whatever was available around. Bark of number of trees, leaves, seeds, certain seeds. We are not growing now. They are growing in the nature. So, sometime we do find references in books. So, when I started collecting data for, I'm at a very preliminary stage, but I realized that, there are a number of trees growing around. For example, I don't have botanical names for them. I'm still working. For example, Umar, Desi Babul, Khejdi, Ker, Jad, Ber, Kaita, Kadyana, Ayata, Jamun, all these, the bark of these trees were eaten. See, quite often, many of these trees are in high esteem now. They have become part of, where at a number of places they have become sacred groves. People don't cut them. They say, वो देवी को चढ़ाया है. पूरा grove देवी को चढ़ाया है. वो sacred grove को पहले हमको समझ में नहीं आया ऐसा क्यों है. But पता चला ये तो life saving है इनके लिए. So a place at Chandravati where I am excavating, this place has grown a lot of this desi baboon.
You have to now conclude, Dr. Khadgwal.
Okay, I'm going faster, maybe 1-2 minutes more. So, then this is a grove, sacred grove, devoted to, to the deity. These are the seeds of the desi baboon. And then, a lot of vegetables people dry and keep them for years together, longer time. These are some of the vegetables they keep in dry format. These are Ker, Kumta and Panchkuta, all dry vegetables. Certain wild seeds they eat. These look like, Setaria italica types, but one botanist has to identify what exactly they are. But these are not grown, they are grown in wild format and used. This is another called China. इसकी खासियत है कि इसमें कीड़ा नहीं लगता. ये बहुत मजे की बात है. For years together, maybe 10 years, 20 years, they can be preserved. Nothing happens to them. So they make people survive. This is called Kangani. This is also eaten when on auspicious days, during the fast. This is mal or looks like ragi, what is known in Gujarat as ragi, but we do not know exactly this is ragi or not. This is sama, a type of rice grown in wild format. It is also used during the fast. So I'm, going quickly. Then there are a number of grasses that are eaten. Okhla, bokan, chandalewa, karanji, khania, kubi, punwad, kantia. Some of these information is coming from my student KP. This is one of the grass, another one, another one, another one, another one. All these are life-saving grasses, they are eaten. This is sama, that rice type I showed you. This is the plant of that. This is wild format basically. Now, apart from that, people say the core of the corn is also preserved. It is eaten during the famine. And up there is this kantia grass. Actually, the seeds of that grass are eaten. Now, our people, they have very long experience, very long experience of a storage system, overground as well as underground. We have long, story of archaeological record of these storage systems. They can preserve your grain without using any chemical for 365 days. Of course, we have all kicked off that knowledge now. This we find in all archaeological record. You can see storage, circular storage pits at the sites, ranging from Harappan times or Bronze Age down to the medieval or even modern times. These are some of the sites where these storage systems have been found. These are some Iron Age sites. And even your Rigveda text also talks about the storage system. Later text also. Now these traditional storage systems are still prevalent in the villages, but in the towns we do not use them. क्योंकि वो मिट्टी का बना होता है, हमको लगता है कि वो काम का नहीं है. And now our multinationals also, big malls are coming up. They don't want you to store the grains. They will like that. आप 10 किलो आटे का थैला ले जाओ घर, आप storage मत करो. But this storage technology can keep your grain without using any chemical for 365 days or even longer times. And there are systems available in the rural India that people can store grains for year together in underground storage systems. These are you can read number actually. These storage kothis are in a royal storehouse. They read numbers. So large quantity of cereal was they were able to preserve it. There are villages, there are references that when there are famine, people did not leave their villages because they had that much of store available for maybe a year or two. Now this knowledge is lost, how to make kothis or grain storage. So we did an experiment at the site of Kanmer. Time is over?
Jeevanji, you are already 7 minutes.
Okay, I am also doing an experiment at my place.
Please conclude.
Okay. So, well, maybe this is the last slide. Thank you very much.